If you're moving to Portland, Oregon in the near future and wondering where the heck am I going to live, this video is for you. Stay tuned to learn more. Hey, what's up everybody? This is Paul Clem with the Oregon Relocation Team coming to you from Portland, Oregon. And in this video, we're going to look at some of the top areas that I would recommend folks live. Now, we're going to look at the top 10 areas and break them out by a few different categories. So everybody's different, everybody's circumstance is different, what they're looking for, the type of area, what their budget is. So we're going to have something for everybody in this video. So you got to make sure to watch this all the way through. And we get so many calls, emails, texts about relocating to Portland and people asking, okay, you know, where should I live? Here's our circumstance. Here's what we're envisioning. Here's the type of area that we want to be in. Where should we be looking? What are the differences between this area and that area? So that is one of the biggest things that we help people with, especially in some of these preliminary phases of exploring an area, you know, from a distance and trying to get a sense of what these different neighborhoods and suburbs are really going to be like. So we look at areas that meet your preferences and homes that, you know, meet the criteria that you're looking for, and we see where, you know, we can find the best fit. And the good news is, more often than not, there's going to be at least 2, 3, maybe a half a dozen different neighborhoods or suburbs or part of the Portland metro area that could work for you. Now, if you are thinking about moving to Portland, and if you want to dig into some of these things a little bit more and start having these conversations, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, or click the link down below in the description of the video. Schedule a Zoom call with us. We can talk more about it. Okay, so what are my top 10 areas in the Portland metro area that I would recommend to people? All right, the first category is going to be really upscale, high-end, luxury living, definitely going to skew toward the higher end of the spectrum on price. The next category is going to be urban residential, you know, heavily residential areas, but in kind of an urban setting or surrounded by an urban setting, you know, easy, quick access into downtown. These are primarily going to be Portland neighborhoods. The next category is going to be purely suburban. So, you know, the stereotype that you would think of a suburban area, you know, we're talking SUVs and minivans and strip malls and big box stores and housing developments, HOA communities, things like that. And then the last category that we're going to talk about is kind of a mix between, you know, the urban residential and the suburban areas that are a little more suburban overall, but still have that walkability, a little more bustling, a little more to do. So that category is going to, I think, be a good compromise of, you know, being kind of in the city and getting some of the things that offers, but also being in more of a suburban area, a little quieter, a little more laid back. So I'm going to tell you what my top 10 areas to move to are in the Portland metro area. But before we go any further, if this is your first time to the channel or you've been here and you haven't already, and you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. All right, the first place we're going to talk about is Lake Oswego. So this, again, is going to be more of the luxury upscale living. There is a little bit of a range of what you can get. I mean, all the way down to like condos and townhomes and things like that. There are parts of Lake Oswego that are going to be a little more affordable, but in terms of like price per square foot, what you get for your dollar, going to be a really expensive area. But this is what I think most people would consider to be the nicest suburb of Portland and the nicest area of you know, in the Portland metro area to live. It might not be for everybody for a number of reasons, but it is a beautiful town, really, really nice homes, but nice community. There are a couple different areas with restaurants and shopping and things like that. You have this big, beautiful lake. It's a man-made lake where, you know, the residents of Lake Oswego get to enjoy it. It doesn't have this public access. So, you know, I think with Lake Oswego, at least the stereotype is a little bit of a country club vibe to it. And there's probably some truth to that stereotype, but it's probably also an area that's a little more down to earth than you would think, you know, based on kind of the reputation that this area has. I mean, this is probably the highest concentration of wealth in the Portland metro area and in Oregon. So because of that, it's going to be a really nice area in a lot of ways, but it's going to definitely carry that price tag. Now, if you like Lake Oswego, there are other areas that would have a similar feel and be able to offer a similar living experience. One is Dunthorpe, which is connected to Lake Oswego just on the north. It's actually in southwest Portland. Really, really nice upscale area, beautiful architecture, these big, beautiful historic homes. I mean, it's an incredible neighborhood. And you also have West Lynn to the south, which is, again, connected to Lake Oswego, a little bit more removed, a little bit more of a small town feel, but definitely has a lot of the same attributes that Lake Oswego has that, would bring people to Lake Oswego. I think West Lynn would also be an area that would check a lot of boxes for somebody looking in Lake Oswego. All right, the next area to check out, if you are looking for a little more upscale, luxury type living, is Northwest Heights. So living in the West Hills in Portland is definitely a privilege. It is kind of a one-of-a-kind landscape in terms of its proximity to the city, but being up in the trees, feeling like you're in this forest, and you have some really, really old, cool historic developments throughout the West Hills. Just up and over the hill, you have this neighborhood of Portland called Northwest Heights, which is primarily taken up by a big HOA community called Forest Heights. There are a few other little HOA communities that were developed around the same time that will have a similar feel, but Forest Heights, Northwest Heights in Portland is a beautiful community that, again, if you are looking toward the higher end of the spectrum in terms of price, if you are looking for nice, big, beautiful, kind of more high-end luxury style homes, this would definitely be a place to look to, especially if you're looking to be in closer proximity to the city, if you're looking to be in Portland. I mean, Lake Oswego is not that far either, but Northwest Heights is actually in Portland proper. And if you like Northwest Heights, if this is an area that looks interesting or seems like it could be a good fit for you, you could also look to Cedar Mill, which is neighboring Northwest Heights, but it's unincorporated Washington County, so you're going to save on the property taxes there. Also an area called Bonnie Slope, which is basically considered to be Cedar Mill, some of the eastern part of Bethany that's still kind of up in the hills a little bit. There are some of these areas touching Northwest Heights, kind of up in the West Hills, up in Northwest Portland, that are also going to offer a very similar feel. All right, next we'll talk about a couple of these areas that are more of this urban residential feel where you're in Portland, it's very walkable, but also very residential. So kind of a perfect mix of urban, again, residential living. And tops on this list, I think, is going to be Northwest District, which you can also call the Alphabet District or Nob Hill. So this is Northwest 23rd and Northwest 21st. I mean, this is quintessential city living. It's really, the mix of commercial and residential blend seamlessly. I mean, you can walk out your doorstep and, access a number of different coffee shops and bars and restaurants and shopping. There's a hospital. I mean, everything that you would need is literally at your doorstep living in the Northwest District. And you're set just right up behind downtown, really kind of at the foot of the West Hills, kind of, starting to get into these foothills a little bit. I think if somebody was visiting Portland and there's an area that you would tell them they have to go check out, it would be this Northwest District. And again, the residential to commercial really blend really well. There are condos and townhomes, but there's really big, cool old homes, historic homes. A lot of these homes, in fact, most of the homes in this area are over 100 years old. So you do get a lot of variation with homes that have kind of been let go a little bit over the years, and then you have some homes that have just been beautifully remodeled, sometimes several times over. So you get a lot of really cool style in terms of the architecture, but really the highlight here is just being, right on Northwest 23rd or Northwest 21st with all of this stuff at your doorstep. Now, if this is an area that you like, if you want to be in this type of environment, there's a ton of neighborhoods on the east side of Portland, in particular in southeast Portland, that will give you a similar experience that might be a little more modest or, be a little bit more of a mixed bag in terms of what you get. Areas like Buckman and Sunnyside and Richmond and Hosford, Abernathy, it's kind of a mouthful. Selwood in southeast Portland. These are also going to be very kind of hip, walkable neighborhoods, but have a really nice mix of residential options. All right, next, keeping within this kind of urban residential category is Irvington. So there are a few neighborhoods like Irvington, like Eastmoreland and Laurelhurst, for example, but in my opinion, Irvington is unrivaled. You have these beautiful big tree-lined streets. You have these big stately homes where you have Tudors and Craftsmen and Cape Cod styles and these four-square homes that are just so typical to kind of old Portland architecture. And I mean, everybody, it seems, in this area have been such good stewards of these properties over the years. It just doesn't get any better than Irvington. Kind of like Lake Oswego, I was saying, or really anywhere on this list. Like, you know, if some of these different environments, these settings aren't necessarily for you in terms of what you're looking for, there's still so much to appreciate in these areas. And when you look at Irvington and some of the surrounding neighborhoods, we'll talk about that in a minute, it's a little bit less walkable in terms of having a ton to do at your doorstep. I mean, there's Irving Park, so there are some green spaces. It's nice and flat. There's sidewalks. You can get out and walk around, but there aren't necessarily as many of these like entertainment districts like you would have in the Northwest District or some of the neighborhoods in Southeast Portland that I mentioned. So Irvington is going to feel a little more upscale, a little more purely residential, but but no question in kind of an urban setting. And if you like Irvington, and Irvington is an area that sounds interesting, areas like Sabin borders Irvington to the north. You have Grant Park and Alameda and Beaumont, Wilshire, even all the way out to Rose City Park. There's this whole corridor in Northeast Portland where you just have some of the coolest homes in Portland. Again, it's going to be really residential, yet still be in this city setting. All right, next we're going to talk about purely suburban areas, and first is going to be Bethany, which is routinely rated as one of the best places to live in the Portland area. It's been rated the best place to live in Oregon. I mean, the combination of schools and safety and amenities are really kind of unrivaled. Bethany has a little bit of a bubble around it, so it is a little bit removed, far on the northwest side of the Portland metro area, so it is a little bit inconvenient in terms of access in and out, but there's a lot at your doorstep accessing Beaverton or Hillsborough. So as far as shopping and things like that go, you really have it all in Bethany. And you know, this is an area that has been developed a ton over the last, say, 25, 30 years. So it's all going to be very new, very clean, very well laid out, walking paths and trails and a ton of parks and green spaces. It is just quintessential, idyllic suburban living. And for that reason, somebody looking for that type of area, you know, I'm going to point them toward Bethany because this is an area that typically is going to check a ton of boxes for people. Now, if you like Bethany, but you're not necessarily tied to that region of the Portland metro area, I would definitely recommend somebody looking at an area like Bull Mountain on the southwest side of Tigard, Sexton Mountain, which is really just kind of north of Bull Mountain, pretty far west. It's a neighborhood of Beaverton, so that's Bull Mountain, Sexton Mountain, or Tualatin. Really kind of the entire suburb of Tualatin was developed along the same timeline. So you have a lot of these kind of relatively newer developments or communities, a lot of HOA communities, really just, again, very typical suburban living, but certainly has some character, a lot of trees, you know, some nice green spaces. There really is a lot to like. So Tualatin's going to be more on the south side of the metro area. All right, the other suburban area to mention that is like total suburbia is Happy Valley. And Happy Valley is in Clackamas County on the east side of the Portland metro area. So kind of similarly removed like Bethany on the northwest side, Happy Valley a little bit east, southeast in the Portland metro area. You kind of just have this like suburban paradise where, yeah, I mean, maybe you do have a little bit of a bubble around you. You might not be getting in and out as much. These areas might not be as well suited for people who need to get into the city a lot for work, or people who want to get into the city a lot for entertainment, for example, although it's really not going to be all that bad. I mean, you know, 20 minutes, maybe up to 45 minutes, depending on traffic and time of day and things like that. But Happy Valley is going to be a little bit newer than Bethany, so a lot of new construction still going on in Happy Valley. But again, just like Bethany, routinely rated as one of the top, if not the top, areas to live in the Portland metro area by a number of measures. Now, to me, Happy Valley feels a little bit more removed, being southeast, than Bethany does on the northwest side. You know, in Bethany, you can get on Highway 26 and still get straight into Portland. I live on the west side. I'm kind of a west side guy. So, you know, to me, like, maybe my bias is a little bit more toward Bethany anyway because of that. But if you like Happy Valley And if you want to be a little bit more removed like that, similar areas that are kind of developing along the same timeline and have the same trajectory are going to be Wilsonville, all the way on the southernmost tip of the Portland metro area, or Sherwood, all the way on the southwesternmost tip of the Portland metro area. Sherwood and Wilsonville are going to have a lot of similar attributes to Happy Valley, and I think if Happy Valley is interesting, those areas could definitely be good candidates. Tualatin too. I think if you like Bethany, if you like Happy Valley, Tualatin is going to be a really, really nice suburb to look at. Okay, just a few more here. So these next ones are kind of hybrid areas, more suburban than not, but have a little more of that walkability, or have kind of a little entertainment area, places where you can get out and walk around, do some shopping where you don't have to necessarily get in the car. The first is going to be Oranco, or Oranco Station, which is west of Beaverton, west of Tannisbourne into Hillsborough. So it's not all the way out into downtown Hillsborough, but it's part of Hillsborough city limits. Hillsborough is a huge suburb all the way on the west side of the Portland metro area. And Oranco Station in particular is this master plan community with this little town center where you have townhomes and condos, and then you have a lot of single family homes, residential development around it. But right in the middle, you have, this little shopping center, this area where you have great restaurants and a coffee shop and things like that, and more commercial businesses where you get out and walk around and you kind of feel like you're in like a city neighborhood, but you're way out in the suburbs, pretty far removed from Portland. You also might find some more relative affordability in an area like Oranco Station, because you are that much farther from Portland. Generally, as a rule of thumb, the further you get from the city center, the more affordable real estate prices are. For Hillsborough specifically, Oranco is going to maybe skew a little more on the higher side in terms of price per square foot because of the amenities and what you get. All right, next is going to be an area called Neighbors Southwest. This is an area that, when I was growing up was called Murray Hill. This is southwest in Beaverton, so really kind of removed, similar to Bethany in this Beaverton west side area, but Bethany's all the way northwest. Neighbors Southwest is southwest. But there's this huge shopping entertainment area called Progress Ridge, which is awesome. I mean, I sound like a broken record, but restaurants, coffee shops, bars, movie theater, just different shopping, grocery stores, things like that. So you have the Murray Hill development, which is a little bit older. Progress Ridge is very close. You have Big Al's, which is like this big family fun center where you can go to the arcade, go bowling, stuff like that. So a lot of fun, an area where you can, again, get out and walk around and access a lot of this stuff. You have a lake there where you can actually fish or just walk around. I mean, it's a really beautiful setting. It is really nicely put together. Again, just the amenities, the walkability. There is a ton to like here. Neighbors Southwest is going to be a very suburban feeling area, but again, it has this kind of little town square, town center area where you can get out and walk around. So it moves more into this category where you have kind of this hybrid of, kind of an urban walkability, but more of a suburban setting. Okay, last in this hybrid category of walkable suburban areas is going to be Multnomah Village, which is in Portland, Southwest Portland. But Southwest Portland is very removed from some of these more urban or urban residential parts of Portland. You're separated by the West Hills, so you kind of get up and over the hill and you get into Southwest Portland, and it feels very suburban. It's really going to be primarily residential, but right in the heart of Southwest Portland, you have Multnomah Village. And I'm certainly biased because this is where I grew up, but this is an area that a lot of people gravitate toward because you're in Portland. You have this little entertainment district, but it is more laid back. It's quieter. Again, it has more of a suburban feel. You have a lot of great parks in this area, like Gabriel Park and the newer Spring Garden Park here. And so in Southwest Portland, if you're living near Multnomah Village, you can walk to some really awesome restaurants. There's a really cool community feel there in Multnomah Village. I mean, you kind of walk up and down the main drag and, you have these old buildings. It's like you've stepped back 100 years. I mean, a lot of it has been left unchanged. The storefronts change, obviously, and, there's always turnover with different stores or restaurants coming in. And really, it's not been only until recently they've built up a couple of different apartment buildings. There's a ton of pushback from the community there. So I know in Multnomah Village, I think the overall sentiment is to really protect what it is for what it is and kind of protect the integrity of this kind of feel and vibe that it has, and not let it become, a lot of what some of the other neighborhoods or entertainment areas throughout Portland have become, like on Southeast Division, for example, or on North Mississippi. Moma Village is, I think, if you're looking for a walkable Portland neighborhood, but a little bit, again, quieter, more laid back, a little bit more of a suburban feel, this is going to be a great area to check out. Okay, last but not least is new construction. So it's not just one area necessarily. There's a lot of different areas where there is building going on, and a lot of these communities where where you're seeing hundreds of homes, thousands of homes being built, have a pretty similar feel. You have a lot of the same builders building in different areas. So basically every suburb throughout Portland it has new construction going on. Areas like Beaverton and Tigard, Milwaukee, some of these suburbs that touch Portland, along the border of Portland, really have already been developed. So there's not much vacant land to develop in some of these close-in suburbs. But if somebody was looking for new construction and they like that type of community, and if they want a brand new house, and if they want to be in a larger development, larger new construction development, I think Reed's Crossing is going to be the first place, that I would suggest people check out. And this is on the south side of Hillsborough. This is an area that, looks night and day different, from what it did 5-10 years ago. It was just all vacant land, farmland, stuff like that. And it's going to look way different, 5-10 years down the road, because there's going to be stores and, restaurants and all kinds of stuff going in here. So it's really kind of in its infancy, but I think they're building like 6,500 homes or something like this throughout this area. So this is the largest concentration of new construction going on in the Portland metro area. Kind of second to that is probably Happy Valley, but Happy Valley has been developed quite a bit. There's still a lot of new construction going on, but you can get a ton of homes that are 5-10 years old. So on average, you're going to get a newer home in Happy Valley. There's also like out Shoals Ferry Road, past Neighbors Southwest, which is that Progress Ridge area that we talked about. There's a ton of new construction going on there. Up in Bethany, they're still building a lot, in North Bethany in particular. So if you like Bethany, if you like that kind of established suburban feel but want to get into a newer development, Bethany could be a really good option as well. So with new construction, there's really kind of a handful of areas that I think we could point people to, and there's going to be a lot of differences between builders. There's going to be a lot of differences between where you're sitting in the Portland metro area, if you're getting into a community with new construction. But there's not going to be one, in my opinion, especially probably because they are so new, that I would say, oh, you have to check this one out specifically. But these are, in my opinion, the top areas in the Portland metro area to check out. If you like these areas, there are a lot of other areas like them that we could look to as well. And if you want to talk more about what living in these areas is going to be like, if you want to talk about your preferences, your timeline, your budget, start putting together a plan overall, give us a call, send us a text, shoot us an email, click the link down below in the description of the video, schedule a Zoom call with us. We can have that conversation. Now, if this video is helpful, make sure to hit the like button. That helps us out a lot. If you want to get more videos like this, make sure to hit the subscribe button, tap the little bell to get notified every time we drop a new video. As always, really appreciate you watching. Until next time, we'll talk to you later.